Welcome, everyone. We'll get started shortly, but I'd like to give some people a few more moments to get their audio preferences settled before we begin. Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Before I hand it off to Shelly, our presenter, I just want to cover a few technical details in case you haven't joined Acro webinar in the past. We use Zoom webinar, which is similar to Zoom meeting, except that your cameras and your microphones are disabled by default. To interact with each other or with the presenter, you have two main options. You can use the chat button, and this defaults to hosts and panelists, meaning that only we can see your message. However, if you want everyone to see your message, make sure you select everyone from the drop-down menu. If you have a question specifically for the presenter, please use the Q&A button, and you can ask questions anonymously. You can view and comment existing questions, and you can ask questions at any time. And Shelly will let you know when she would like to answer your question in her introduction. And now, with any further ado, please welcome Shelly.
Thank you, Belma. All right, well, welcome everyone. I am going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I appreciate your attendance with me today. I am here to demo a couple of great products that we have from CollegeSource. So we're looking at a simplified transfer processing using TES and Transferology. Thank you, Acro, for this opportunity. Now, as far as questions, many times I will answer your questions as we go throughout the demo. You can type them in anytime you want. We'll see how it goes. I might look at them as we go throughout the webinar. I might save them to the end too. We'll see what works best. So, as Belma said, my name is Shelly Jackson. I am a product solution specialist for CollegeSource. I support all of their products. My main support is with Transferology. And just a little bit of my background. I did work at Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado for 30 years in the registrar's office before I started with CollegeSource. I always think that's important to share because we all work in the business, we have our language, we have the experience, we know what to say. I did work with transfer students. My last 12 years, I was in charge of degree and transfer evaluation processing. So I worked with transfer students. My staff and I evaluated transfer credit. And TES and Transferology can assist your processes tremendously. So our agenda today, I'm going to go through a PowerPoint with some introduction, talk about our products, and then we'll get into a live demo so that you can see the Transferology student site. Transferology Lab is what we call our staff site for Transferology. Give you a test demo and make sure that I get your questions answered. So I'll be sharing a lot of information today. Now, why CollegeSource? Hopefully, many of you are familiar with CollegeSource. Many of you probably use TES. Well, we've been around for 50 plus years, quite a long time. And all of our products are for higher education. We work with higher education institutions all the time. We're a small privately owned company, no venture capital, no shareholders. And with all of the staff at CollegeSource, we have just under 100, so we are a small company. We have 200 plus years combined higher education staff experience. So that's a lot of time spent in higher ed. Now, these are our products. We have over 2,100 institutions and 2.7 million students globally that use our solutions. So we're going to be talking about TES, which is a great tool to help out anyone that evaluates transfer credit. It's a lifesaver. Transferology, so you can then display all that hard work that's been done to evaluate transfer courses in Transferology so students can see how their courses will transfer. Some of you might use our UAchieve tool, which incorporates degree audit, planning, and schedule building. So UAchieve is a great tool too. We're going to start with Transferology, which helps students make educated decisions. It is our nationwide network. that gives students a way to see how their courses will transfer. So they can find that information before they're admitted to your institution, before they even apply. Maybe they don't even know about your school until they see the results and other details, and then they decide to reach out and apply. So both of our products are fully hosted on Amazon Web Services, AWS, in the cloud. You don't need a server or any hardware in order to implement either product. Both products also have a user-friendly design, that responsive application, meaning that it can be accessed from whatever device is being used, whether student or staff member is sitting down at a desktop, utilizing a tablet or a laptop, or even a smartphone. Now, for transferology, we need to get your equivalency data, all the transfer rules on how those transfer courses will transfer, and we have many ways to do that. Hopefully, many of you utilize TES, whether you store your equivalencies in TES or not. We have a nightly update from there, so that's an easy way to get the data. If you utilize our UAchieve suite and use transfer articulation, we pull those in and update them currently twice a week, but we're working on a nightly update. If you use PeopleSoft transfer articulation, we have an interface you can install to point to your PeopleSoft TA tables. We pull those in and update them once a week. If you don't use any of these products, that's not a problem. You can give us an import file of your equivalency data because we need to have those in the Transferology database in order for students to see their results. And you get 2 of those import files per year. Now, when students are viewing how their courses would transfer to your school in Transferology, they have several ways that they can contact you. We have several buttons they can click on, and they can request additional information from your school. So that becomes your potential lead. That's a student you can reach back out to provide that information. Now, I know transfer pathways sometimes is a hot topic. You might call them articulation agreements, transfer guides, but any of those partnerships where you've worked with other institutions to create a pathway from the school or from your school to show how they can complete a program between the schools, you have 3 different ways that you can list those in Transferology so students can see that information. And more than courses, what we mean by that, students can see how the courses will transfer, but you can also let students know what credit you'll award for standardized exams, advanced placement especially. Also, CLEP, International Baccalaureate, and DSST. And we also have the American Council on Education Military Guide so that our military personnel can see if you've evaluated their MOS, course and occupation, for credit. Now, I do want to share statistics for last year. We get a lot of usage from students, and this is the 2022 statistics. We had students spend 120,000 hours in Transferology, 831,000 logins to the system. Now, on average, a student would spend just over 8 minutes in a session. That's not a long time for them to add their credits, search for matches, and look at the details. We had 234,000 new student accounts created last year, 3.49 million courses added from over 4,000 schools to see how they'll transfer, 957,000 searches to view the results, and then 1.51 million clicks to view those details on how schools would accept their courses. 99% of students found some sort of match to their coursework. And of all of our schools, I mentioned we have to get all of the transfer rules, the equivalency data, into our Transferology database. We had 31 million equivalencies at the start of this year. Of course, that number grows every day. So it's a huge database. You might be interested on this map. You can see where there's a yellow star. Those are schools that participate in our network. I believe right now we have about 420 schools in the Transferology network. The green dot on the map shows the student usage. The darker the green dot, the higher the student usage. Now, 2022, Transferology actually won an award, Gold Stevie winner, which is the Education Cloud-Based Solution category in the 19th Annual International Business Awards. We're very proud of that. It was very exciting. And our CEO, Carrie Cooper, said, institutions are increasingly turning to us to help manage the complexities of transfer articulation and degree achievement to fully support student mobility. We are honored to have been named as a Stevie Award winner. Now we're going to also look at TES, the transfer evaluation system, which really gives transfer credit evaluators a way to speed up their process. It's an all-in-one solution so that you can look at the institution information, the course descriptions, side-by-side view of a transfer course and your course. You no longer would need to go to an institution's website to locate their catalog and then locate the information you're looking at. So within TES, we have complete catalogs. So when we started with CollegeSource, we started collecting institutional catalogs. Our owner, at the urging of who was the president then, to go ahead and start collecting these catalogs because they needed to be stored somewhere. So again, you can research that institution and course information. It can be accessed remotely, just like Transferology. Millions of course descriptions within the site. We have some great reports, and it's very user-friendly. So number one, you're going to have that faster access to course descriptions. A subscription to TES pays for itself just for that first item, faster access to course descriptions. You can also track the evaluation process. We have a workflow within TES. If you need to send courses out to be evaluated with the academic department, you can track that right in TES. You can also create and manage your equivalencies in TES. If you don't currently have a database, a place to store that information, TES can help you out with that. We do have what we call the public view in TES, where you can embed a link on your website and students can view that information directly from TES. That is information directly on your website. Transferology is a national network. So I know a lot of you would say, well, what's the difference between the two? So you receive efficient and significant time savings with TES. Now, of course, they're both our products. And for any of you that have UAchieve, we are also incorporating TES with UAchieve. UAchieve works with Transferology. So our products are talking together even more. But between TES and Transferology, we have an advanced integration. There are places in the Transferology lab where you will see courses that you have unevaluated. We call them maybes, meaning it might transfer, it might not, it hasn't been evaluated. You can send those courses from the lab directly to TES to the workflow so that those courses can get evaluated. So that's a very helpful tool also. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get into a live demonstration, Transferology, Transferology Lab, and TES. So thank you again for attending with me today. If you want additional information, you can go to our website, collegesource.com. You can also email info@collegesource.com. You can see that information on the screen, and then staff members will reach out with more information. And if you want to email me, you can see my email, Shelley@collegesource.com. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my PowerPoint so I can now share my screen and we'll get into the live demo. Oops, let me go ahead and take that off the screen. We don't want that there. All right, so we are going to start with a demo of Transferology. So transferology.com is where anyone can access Transferology. We do have a lot of information on the page here. We reach out to students through Facebook ads and Google ads. We let students know if you're looking to transfer, try out Transferology, and we're able to track that information. So we know how many students are using those campaigns, and a lot of them do. So the first thing a student needs to do if they haven't been to the site before is they need to start exploring. Here is a form, very simple, that they can fill out for a Transferology account. They put their name, email address, and a password. They're also able to log in with Facebook, Google, or Microsoft accounts. We also are going to add Apple accounts to that this summer. So a student can go ahead and create their account. Now I'm going to go ahead and log in with an account that I've already created. And I always get the question if anybody saw my email address there, one Rockies fan. Yes, I'm a Colorado Rockies fan, no matter how hard it is year after year. Okay, the first time a student comes into Transferology, they get a directional page. We're not seeing that page here, but that page gives them some information about Transferology so they understand how they can use the site. It also explains those two different paths that you can see in the top menu bar. Will my courses transfer and find a replacement course path? Then the first time they enter any page within the site, they also get these helpful overlays. Gives them some hints and tips on how to use the information on the page. They can always go back to those by clicking on that question mark. Now down in the right-hand corner, you can see what we've labeled as a help and feedback beacon. If a student clicks on that, they can contact one of our participating schools, very easy if they have any questions. They can search our help documents for functionality questions. They can contact us, staff at CollegeSource, to answer their questions, and they can provide feedback. We do get a lot of feedback from students about Transferology, which you can imagine. Usually they like it because they can find the information they're looking for, unless they're looking for a school that doesn't participate in the network. And then they can't see how their courses will transfer, and we get that frowny face negative feedback from them. Okay, well, you can see that I have already added, and this is not the account I wanted to be in. Sorry about that. I was setting something else up this morning. So very quickly, I'm going to change to this student account. You can see I've added some courses from Butler Community College, Wichita State University, and Anoka Ramsey Community College. So my student account, I've moved around, but that's what a lot of transfer students do. So I just wanted to see a variety here. So now starting with Will My Courses Transfer? This is where a student can add in all of the coursework they've completed and that they're currently enrolled in. So starting on the left side of the screen with the Courses tab, the student starts to enter in the name of the school so that they can add any courses into their account. So you can see as I type in Wichita, I can see any schools that have Wichita in their name. So I'm going to go ahead and select Wichita State University. Now we do want the student to select the term and the year they've completed the course. That can be important. You might have effective date ranges on your equivalency data where you are awarding specific transfer credit during a period of time, but maybe the transfer course changed, your course changed, one of the courses is no longer offered, and you've ended that credit. So it does look at when the student says they completed the credit compared to your equivalency data that we have stored in the system, so it can display the appropriate transfer of credit based on those term dates. Now, I mentioned we've been collecting institutional catalogs for 50 years. So the school the student attended does not have to be part of our Transferology network, but we've probably collected catalogs in the past 50 years, and probably every year we're getting a new catalog, which we get for most of the US schools. So we have the catalog data for this institution so that the student can start typing in the name of the department. They get a drop-down list of the academic departments that match up to that, and then it displays those courses from that school for that period of time. So a student just needs to click on the plus sign to add the course into their account. Now, if you saw it, it flashes briefly because they don't really need to see the details, but it flashed with a green box in the upper right-hand corner to let me know that course was added into my account. And you can see that course is highlighted on the right side of the screen. Now, it's not asking students for grades. This is an unofficial view of how their courses will transfer. So at this point, the grades are not really important. So they can go through very quickly, add in their coursework. Standardized exams is where the student can select advanced placement, CLEP, DSST, and international baccalaureate exams. So let's say I, as a student, have completed an advanced placement exam, and let's say I completed it in 2021, and I want to go ahead and I want to add in art history. So again, flashed to let me know it's added, highlighted it in my student account of courses. Now, students and our military personnel can also look at the military credits tab. That's where we have the American Council on Education Military Guide, so that our military personnel can select whatever branch of the service they're in. If they select that they're in one of the enlisted categories, we do ask them for a pay grade because that depends on what credit you might award, what year did they complete it, and then it displays those MOS courses and occupations that the student can add into their account. Now I know, sometimes that's not as straightforward, might depend upon the major and other things there, but at least they can get an idea if you've evaluated the MOS. Now, once a student is ready to search for matches and see the results, they click on the Search for Matches button. Now, in the list we're going to see any of our schools that are part of the Transferology network that have evaluated at least one of the courses in my student account. Now, we also give every school a personalized link for Transferology so that you can add that to your school's website. You can promote Transferology and get students to access the site from that link. What that does, if a student clicks on that link, when they search for matches, they would only see your school in the match percentage list, no matter how many schools have a match. That way, we can promote your institution. But let's say, as a student, I don't know a whole lot about your school. I want to look at all of the results. I can see all of those schools here, and I can filter. If I'm looking for a particular school, I can type in the school name. And if I don't find a school in the list, I can always say, I'm looking for a particular school. Now, I'm from Colorado, so I know a lot of Colorado schools, but let's just say I want to see how my courses will transfer to Adams State University. And it lets the student know the school you have selected does not provide data to Transferology. Okay, let's go back to the matches list. Now, you see the match percentage on the left side of the screen with a match bar underneath that. The way that match percentage is figured for our schools, it looks at the courses in the student's count and compares that with the number of courses the school has evaluated to transfer. Then there are some courses, we don't have every course evaluated, so there'll be some that are unevaluated, and you might even evaluate some courses that will not transfer because the course is remedial, vocational, technical, a type of course you won't accept. So that's how it figures up that match percentage. Now the student can sort and filter the list on the right side of the screen. One of the filters that we have is where maybe I need to start and make sure that the school I want to attend is going to offer the program that I want to complete. So you're able to upload a file of your program names into Transferology so a student can see that information. So I always like to use business. If I type in the word business, it will then display any of the schools that offer a program that has business in the title. And then when the student drills down into the details, they'll be able to learn more about that program, which I'll show you as we get further into the demo. Now, students can also edit their profile. And here they can add in an address or at least a zip code. It gives them the ability to search for schools that are so many miles away from that zip code. We've also added where students can change the theme. I use the light contrast theme, but students might want to use the dark contrast and even high contrast, which helps out with if there are any visual issues. So let's go ahead and let's go back to the match list now. Having that zip code in, I could search for schools that are so many miles away from my zip code. I could search for schools in a particular state. Maybe I'm looking for a school based on the tuition and fee amount, an undergraduate student population, maybe for the size of school I want to look at. And then whether the school is public or private. We do have a lot of private schools in our network, and whether the school is 2-year or 4-year. Now, a student can also click on the star next to an institution name, and that way they're always able to sort their list by favorites only. Now we're going to take a look at the results that we have with the 92% match with the University of Missouri. The student can see the name of the institution, where it's located, how many miles away from their zip code, details, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year, public or private institution, and on the right side of the screen, the undergraduate student population and the annual tuition and fee amounts. Now, when the student is interested to see the results, they click on that match percentage, and then they can see the details. Now, it starts with what we call matches. Those are the courses where we have an equivalency in the system for this school for that course. So for the University of Missouri, they've evaluated 11 of the 12 courses in my student account. We can see, starting with Anoka Ramsey Community College, that Introduction to Art course is going to transfer as this course number. History is this course number. Let's look at the Butler Community College U.S. History 1, equivalent to History 1100. University of Missouri has added a message to let the student know this course satisfies the Missouri state law requirement. So you can give students all sorts of messages. This course will count towards this requirement. If you're awarding some kind of what we call user added course, you might call wildcard, placeholder. You can also give them a message so that they can understand how that credit will be used, especially if you're assigning just elective credit. You can let the student know elective credit. All right, so we can see all of that information here. There could be a Misses tab, which would be any of those courses you've evaluated not to transfer, so the student can clearly see the course won't transfer. And then the Maybe tab. It appears like we don't have information in the system for University of Missouri and advanced placement, or at least for this one exam. Now you'll see when we get into the lab, many students are looking for advanced placement credit information in transferology. So it's very beneficial to have that information in the system. And you might say, well, what if we award different credit based on different scores on exams? You can include that information. You can have the public note and test set up to display that. Notes you give us in your import file. We also have what we call glossary messages in the lab that you can add. So if this was awarded different credit, I could have one equivalency that shows a score of 3, one that shows a score of 4 or 5, one 4 5. However you award that credit, you can let the student know. Now on the right side of the screen, the student's going to see your school logo, main address and phone number. Again, remember the student might not be familiar with your school, so they don't quite know where Columbia, Missouri is, so they can take a look at the map. They'll have a link to your website, and they can see all of those details that we displayed earlier, what type of school, size of school, and tuition and fees. You can also have a number of different links to different web pages at your website. Now you will have at least one of your staff members assigned to be what we call the school administrator. That way they can go in and update much of this information as needed. Now, if the student clicks on the school profile, here we'll give them an image, and this happens to be a beautiful image of the University of Missouri, one of their buildings there. We'll share some brief about text. We repeat those information links because they get buried on the right side of the screen. We also display what awards your school offers. And then by having your programs in the system, students can search for those programs like I showed you earlier. They can search all of our schools for certain programs, not just the results list too, but they can click on that programs. And let's say we're listening for programs that have business, some sort of business program. So let's say we're interested in business administration management. I can click on that program. You can have a brief description of the program here. We can see that the University of Missouri is asking the student to go to their website to see that information. Clicking on the link here for program information also takes the student into that specific information on the program. So that way they can see details about what's required. They've got a lot of great information here. And probably you're going to give them contact information, career information. So a lot of that great information that the student is able to access. Now, the University of Missouri does utilize the CollegeSource U Achieve degree audit. So they've made the connection where students can run an unofficial degree audit directly from Transferology so they can see on that audit how their courses transfer and how those courses fit into that particular program and the requirements that are still needed. Now, for sake of time, I'm not going to go into that. I know a lot of you do not utilize the U Achieve degree audit. Right now, Transferology only works with the U Achieve degree audit. We are close to having functionality for the PeopleSoft degree audit, and then we hope to work with other companies. Now, if the student wants to request information from their school, they can click on that request information button. They can fill this out as to what they're interested, what different areas they're interested in, send that off to the school, and that becomes the potential lead. You're going to have at least one student's or one email address for a staff member set up to receive an email when a student makes that request. That can be a generic email at registrar, at admissions, whatever you want that to be, so that you know right away and you can respond to the student. So that's how you're going to get your potential leads. We have another path in Transferology that we call Find a Replacement Course Path. Now, this is where your current students can come in, and they would select your institution as the school they currently attend. So I'm going to say I'm a student at the University of Cincinnati. I'm looking for some courses this summer that I can take elsewhere to transfer back to the University of Cincinnati. So again, we have that catalog data so that they can select the department. Let's say I'm looking for micro or macroeconomics. It's easy to use some courses that they probably evaluated a lot. So they would be able to add as many courses from your institution here. They can search for matches. Now, you can see University of Cincinnati has almost 2,000 schools that they've evaluated at least one of those courses. So they have a lot of great information in here. But I'm going to be home in Fort Collins, Colorado. That's my zip code. So I want to see which schools I could sign up for that course close to my home. So we have a Front Range Community College campus in Fort Collins. I want to view the results. Now I know as a student, sign up for Economics 201 to transfer back to University of Cincinnati as Economics 1002, Economics 202 for Economics 1001. That way, the student doesn't have to come into your office, call the office, however you have that process to find that information. They now know I can check with that transfer school. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be offered the term that they're looking for it, but they can check. They know what courses to sign up for. And because we have that great catalog data, we can also display the course descriptions to the student. Now, the student can print this screen or their Will My Courses screen so they can have that information. All this information is stored in the student's Transferology account so they can always go back to it. All right, a lot of great information for students. You can see that. You can see what a benefit it would be for your institution. I'm going to briefly show you a few tools that are available in the Transferology lab, which is the staff site. This is where we're going to store the information for your school that we're displaying to the student with the image, the about text, the links, and all of the details. So that's the default login screen at the lab. You'll have that school administrator. They can go in here, click on the edit profile button and change much of this information. So it's very easy to have that information that we're going to display. I mentioned you're going to determine what email address should be emailed when a student makes a request. Very easy to update those. You're going to add your users, and both for TES and Transferology Lab, you can have as many users that you want in your accounts. There's no limit. So anybody that needs to be able to access the tools in the lab and also access tests. In both products, you are going to assign different user roles so that they can access the tools they need. Now, most of the time in the Transferology lab is spent under advising and recruiting and transfer equivalencies. This is where we store the equivalency information that you give to us for Transferology. So I can go in here, maybe I want to look and see how we've transferred any courses to Illinois schools. I'm going to go ahead and clear the filters. Staff can look up standardized exams, those military courses, and let's say I want to see how we've evaluated courses from Front Range Community College. I can see by department, or I can bring up the entire list So I then know how we've evaluated those courses to transfer from that particular institution. And you're going to see the same messages that we're going to display to students about the transfer of the course. It's just in a little different format here. So that's great information. We have other tools for any of you that are in advising where you might need to create a bundle of a student's courses so you can see their articulation report. How would these courses transfer? So the course bundles are only in your lab account. You can create as many bundles as you want and manage them. So I'm going to click on a bundle here where I've got labeled Jane Smith with a date. So I can see all of those courses that Jane Smith completed. I've added those into my course bundle just like a student would. So you go through and you add the courses, you add the exams and the military credits, and then search for matches. Now your school is going to be at the top of the match percentage list. You can see how any other schools will accept the courses too. But I'll be able to see my school right here with a 33% match, and now I can view all of the details. Here's the matches. So it's just like the student view. Remember I mentioned different scores for AP. That's one way you can show it with the notes. It's listed as an OR so the student can see that information. You're going to see the matches, the misses, any of the information on the right. You can see the school profile, your program information, and there are pathways that I've entered. I mentioned those articulation agreements. You can create test group reports, pull those in for students and staff. You can upload PDF documents if that's how you've created those agreements. You can also point to a URL at your website that lists those agreements. That way, students and staff can see those schools you have the information listed with. This is a Front Range Community College transfer pathway in the Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology. Click on that icon, and then it either takes them to the URL, opens up that website, or displays that test group report. Okay, now let's go back to the results. Remember I mentioned the TES integration. So for any of you that are familiar with the TES evaluation tracker workflow, that's where you can take a transfer course, send it out through the workflow and test to have the department evaluate the course. Or you can send them a possible equivalency. I have courses in this bundle listed as maybes, a lot of them. I can set up the TES integration. There's a little setup required in the lab and in TES. I can then send those courses to my TES queue here. I can select who I want to send those to in TES. So let's say I want to send these courses directly to my TES evaluation tracker workflow queue. If I click to send those to TES, I can see those were both sent successfully, and real time, I will see those courses sent to my TES queue so I can then go ahead and process that evaluation. And there are 5 places in the lab where you can send those. All right, I'm not going to show you all of the information in the lab, but any of those students that are requesting information will be listed here, so you can always know what information the student has requested. You can take a look at their transfer courses that are currently in their account, and you can view the matches, create a bundle of those courses, like I just showed you the bundles, and also export to an Excel spreadsheet. Now we have some great reports here, like the popular courses report. What are the most popular courses that students are adding into their Transferology account to see how they'll transfer? I'm going to pull up all locations and all entities. So you will see that currently the top 11 courses that students have added into their Transferology account in the last 30 days are advanced placement courses. So a lot of freshmen, we know a lot of transfer students have advanced placement credit. Look at the number of students looking to see what credit will be awarded for advanced placement. So a lot of great reports here. We have statistics you'll be able to run so you can see how many students are viewing how their courses would transfer into your institution. How many of your current students are using the site? How many of your staff are using the site, and what are they doing within the site? So you can see where Transferology is very beneficial for students and very helpful for staff also. Now I'm going to switch over to TES. I elected to do TES last. Many of you might already have a TES account and you don't want to see this. So if you don't have any questions or anything, you can log out. But I'm going to briefly show you some of the great tools that we have in TES. For anyone that evaluates transfer credit, TES is a lifesaver. Believe me, even if you're just using it to find the transfer course and institution information, because you don't have to search around the school's website, find their catalog, find the courses, find the accreditation, and all of that. So I'm going to start with Search and Course Finder. This is where you can pull up any institution. So let's say I have a transcript from City Colleges of Chicago, Harold Washington College. I don't know anything about that school, but I can pull them up by typing in partial name. I can see them listed here. I can see we have collected a catalog. We've created a data set, which we create for all the course descriptions for every year's catalog. And we can see they share a catalog with all of the other city colleges of Chicago. I click on that institution. Now I can get to a lot of great information. The first icon in the upper right-hand corner takes me to the institutional profile, where I can see a lot of great information. I need to know whether we should accept credit from this school. I can see the institution type, 2-year or 4-year, public or private, degree levels, what degrees do they offer, what's their calendar system. We have some of those codes that you use in your SIS, and then very important, accreditation. Do they have that accreditation we need in order to accept the course and transfer? Then we have a link to their website with that globe icon. And we also have what we call transcript keys, what you probably know as the back of the transcript legend. We know that you don't always have those handy when you need them when you're evaluating transfer credit, because maybe with imaging, the back of the transcript isn't there, or you're helping a student. I can see we have 2 versions here for Harold Washington College. I'm going to click on that latest one. It then shows me the back of the transcript information. So I have all of those great details handy when I need them. Now, if I go back a couple screens, I can see the institutional catalogs that we've collected for this institution at the bottom of the screen. Every year we ask every institution to give us permission to add their latest catalog to our database. We get many links sent to us, permission to download. Once we add that catalog, and you can always look at the entire catalog, we strip out the course descriptions and we create these, what we call data sets. That's what makes TES so efficient and saves so much time. So let's say we have a transcript. We're looking at 2022-2023 courses. I can search by a course code. I can search by a course title if I want to, but I also have a drop down of the different departments from this catalog. Let's say we want to look at anthropology courses. Shows me the anthropology courses. I want to look at cultural anthropology. And just like that, I now have access as a staff member. This is the staff site, remember, to that information on that transfer course. Much, much quicker than for any of you that don't have TES. We can see that course description. We can see the units or credits if there were prerequisites or co-requisites. We can see all of the course descriptions for all of the courses for that department. That's really helpful when you're evaluating sequence courses like math and science. You would be able to look at those other course descriptions, and you can also look at all of the course descriptions for this course. They go back quite a ways here. Now, from here, I've got that great transfer course information. I can send this out through the workflow to my anthropology department so they can evaluate the course if that's your process. Maybe I want to pull up what a course is equivalent at our institution. So I am able then to get, this is my institution's catalog. You would have your school's information listed here, where I could say, okay, I want to pull up our anthropology courses. I feel like this course is probably equivalent to our Anthropology 100. Notice you can also have courses that are user-added courses where I'm going to assign elective credit, general education credit. You can create those courses outside of your catalog. So I'll say, I think it's equivalent to Anthropology 100, but I need to review that. So I'm going to preview. Now I get that side-by-side listing. Here's the transfer course on the left. Here's my course on the right. Now I can compare the course descriptions, prerequisites, all of those details. If I have the ability, I could then create this equivalency wherever you store your equivalencies. I could create the equivalency right here in TES, add a date if I needed to, add a public note. That the public note will show in the public view for TES, also in Transferology. Maybe this is for anthropology majors only, or maybe a B is required, or maybe this requirement, this course is going to meet a certain gen ed requirement. Any of those notes you want to add. But let's say I need to send this out to the academic department. So I'm going to create an evaluation task. Now I have the ability to select who I want to assign this to. Now, everybody that's part of your workflow needs a TES account, but it's not hard to train your faculty or your reviewers in your department to use TES. It's really pretty easy. Let's say I have John Burke here as my anthropology reviewer. I can send him an email alert to let him know he's got this coming from me and TES. I can add comments, anything I want to relay to the reviewer. And if the student has given me a syllabus in PDF format, I can attach that so the staff member can also see that syllabus. Let's just say I want to create the evaluation task. Now it's been sent out to my reviewer. He logs into his queue in TES. He can go directly to this screen. He can set it so it goes here. He can then say, okay, City Colleges of Chicago, Harold Washington. Here's that course that's been sent to me for review. Open it up, review all of those details. Then he can say, okay, I approve this. Nope, Shelley, you're wrong. I deny it. I need more information. I need that syllabus. I'm just the first reviewer. I need to reassign it to a department head or a college dean. Shelley, you've selected the wrong course. I don't feel like we want to give our Anthropology 100 course. So a lot of different things that can transpire here through the workflow. And it has started an evaluation log so that this information is stored in TES. So you can always go back and say, well, who approved that equivalency? The department's saying, we shouldn't be awarding that credit. Let me see who approved that. So it's always stored there. So I could go ahead and let's say that as the reviewer, they approve it. Now I'm in my account. I am not in my John Burke account, but I would then see that it's sent back to me for approval. I could go ahead and I could close this out if I don't store my equivalencies in TES, or I could go ahead and create an equivalency and close this out. And again, I can add all of those details. Now remember, we sent courses from the Transferology lab to TES into my queue. So those would be listed here. Any of those courses that I sent from the integration, I would be able to go in here and get those courses evaluated or send them out through the workflow. So that's a great integration between the two products. Now we have other queues. You can see all open evaluations. You can see any of the evaluations that have been closed, and you may have some of your reviewers that don't get back to you timely, so you can send email reminders and say, hey, we're still waiting for this answer. Could you please get that to me? Now, we also have some great tools and reports within TES. One of the reports that I know a lot of schools use is what we call an Equivalency Explorer report. We call it the Course Change Explorer. So you've built all these equivalencies. You need to find to see if there's been any changes made between the courses from those transfer schools. You can even run this for your institution. So let me show you here. So I'm going into the Course Change Explorer, and I want to pull up the University of Wisconsin Platteville. So I can see they're listed here. I select them. Now I can let TES review two of the data sets. So let's say I want to find the changes from the 2022-2023 catalog to the 2021-2022 catalog and see what changes they made. So I submit that for comparison. Now, very quickly, it's given me 3 reports here. One of those are the changes. So I want to take a look at Animal Science 3040. We can see here, it's letting me know the title was changed, description was changed, units was changed. That's a pretty big change that Platteville made to that course. So I click on that. I then get a great listing here so I can see the older course description, the newer course description, and then the changes. Look at that. They dropped a lot of text, added a lot of text, changed the credits. So if I have an equivalency for that course, I might need to go in and make a change. So you have got that ability to find all of those changes. You can see, did they drop any courses? They dropped 41 of their courses. I might need to go in and put an end date on my equivalency. Do they have any new courses? They have 41 new courses. So they've dropped 41 and added 41, and I could go in and maybe evaluate those courses I need to. So we have a lot of great tools within TES that you can use even if you don't store your equivalencies in TES. Now, if you decide to store your equivalencies in TES, they're stored under Equivalency Manager. This is where you can see all of the schools that you've evaluated credit. You can go into any of the schools. You can add an equivalency if you want to build a new equivalency for that school. You could also edit. If I want to go in and edit, I want to change the course, I want to look at the equivalency log. Oh, look at that one. I've got one that I've made many changes to. You normally wouldn't see that, but in demos, we sometimes get a long list like that. Who approved this equivalency? So I can make sure that I can view that. So I can make any changes there. And then you're also able to delete equivalencies and create groups. So I mentioned transfer pathways for transferology. You can create groups of equivalencies from a particular school. Use those groups in a report. So let me just show you. This is a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry with Ames Community College group report that I've built, where I'm showing the different gen ed categories, what courses to take at Ames, how it transfers in to be used towards this program at CollegeSource University. I've even got required courses for the chemistry major, and then there's even some textual requirements about beyond the transfer requirements. So you can build test group reports, show those in your public view, pull those into Transferology, and display that information. So you can see where TES can be very helpful for your transfer credit evaluators. We also have Equivalency Batch Editor. Now, many times, maybe you need to find a group of equivalencies. So I want to go in here and I want to say, okay, everywhere I've assigned our Composition 150 as an equivalent course. I know what I did. I need to change the date here. All right, now I have a list of everywhere we've created an equivalency with Composition 150 as the equivalent. Maybe I need to make a change to all of those. You are able to batch edit and make a change to many different items. You could batch delete. Maybe I need to go in and add a public note to every one of those. So the equivalency batch editor is very helpful. We also have a health check, which shows you changes to courses in your catalog. Let's take a look and see which of my courses have had a course title change. A lot of them are my user-added courses, which I could ignore, but a lot of them are not. So maybe I need to take a look at those. So you can see where the CollegeSource products are very helpful with staff for evaluating your transfer credits, storing your equivalencies, and for transferology for students and for staff. Okay, I think we're about 6 minutes left. I wanted to make sure that I had time for any questions that have been asked. So yes, so Belma is saying, go ahead and list any questions that you have in the questions and answer. I see right now we don't have any questions. But if you have any questions, please enter those in Maybe you don't want to ask them here, or you need to get off to another meeting. Feel free to send me an email, Shelley, SHELLY, at CollegeSource.com, and I'd be glad to answer your questions. Let's say you want to get a quote for your institution for TES, Transferology, or both. Send an email to sales, SALES, at CollegeSource.com. That way, one of our sales staff member can get back to you. They need to figure out, because both products are based upon the total head count of students at your institution. So they need to do a little research, get that quote and send it to you. They can also give you our webinar schedule. I offer webinars every month, as does our TES guru, John Panzica. So we're there for sales webinars, training webinars, and everything else that you might need. If you don't have any questions, feel free to go ahead and log out. Thank you for your time. I still see there are no questions. I know sometimes it takes a little bit to type a question in, but maybe I answered everybody's questions. Hopefully I've gotten you excited for some great tools that can help out with a complicated, transfer credit world is challenging, complicated, very, very important for our transfer students. So hopefully our products can help you out. All right. Well, Belma, not seeing any questions or anything in the chat. We don't have to keep everyone waiting. So thank you all. Again, thank you, ACRO, for this opportunity. I look forward to hearing from any of you that want to reach out to me.
Thank you, Shelley, and thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Great. Thanks, Belma.
Thanks.